Hello, everybody, and welcome to the OPC Foundation Press Conference at the SPS Connect 2020. My name is Stefan Hoppe. I'm the president of the OPC Foundation, and it's a real pleasure for me to say hello, a virtual hello to all the attendees from the press, but also other attendees, and to my co-speakers here. So let's start. For me, it's a pleasure to have fantastic speakers here from amazing companies. Whoever thought that we have Google Cloud, Microsoft, strong commitment from North America, from Sesame. But definitely, I assume that a lot of you are here to get an update on the Field Level Communications Initiative, what we started 2 years ago in 2018, exactly at the SPS Press Conference. Andreas Fahrt from VDMA is also our speaker again, because the VDMA is doing so many activities. He will talk about the production language. And after that, I will give you a short summary. So let's start. First of all, an update, short update on the OPC Foundation and our technology. As you see here, we are still delivering the promise and the vision to have a complete, secured and reliable communication to enable interoperability across markets, independent from vendors, and completely domain agnostic, and to scale this from sensor up into cloud and back. And this is what we hear today a lot about. Again, I like to repeat that everything from the OPC Foundation is open. Specifications, once they are available and released, are public to everybody. Sample code is available on GitHub, and also what we also joining the OPC certification lab is available to everybody. You don't have to be a paying member of the OPC Foundation. So if you did a good jump start with toolkits and you want to increase quality of your product, just join the lab, pay your daily fee, and that's it. It's a pleasure now for me to announce Dominic Wee from Google Cloud. As you have listened before, Google Cloud has joined the OPC Foundation earlier this year, and so it's a pleasure for me to hand over to Dominic to learn about why Google Cloud joined the OPC Foundation and what they are doing with OPC UA in the future.
Hi everybody, my name is Dominic Wee, and I lead the global industry manufacturing team at Google Cloud. As Stefan has pointed out, we are new to OPC UA, and we are very excited about the partnership, and thanks a lot, Stefan, for the great collaboration so far with you and your team. I guess many of you know and are familiar with Google in their everyday lives. AI is at the very foundation of what Google does, and the bringing AI to manufacturing is our core motivation why Google Cloud is engaged in that space. So taking a step back, perhaps, I think as many of you are aware, continuous productivity gains are the lifeblood of manufacturing, right? Manufacturing companies since many decades have been working on optimizing their manufacturing facilities year in, year out, and we've seen over the past decades many improvements. Companies have become going to mass production, introduced just in time, became lean. But I think what we've seen in the past couple of years or even decades is that these productivity gains relative to the investments companies have been making have been going down. So the question is somewhat kind of what is the next wave of productivity gains in manufacturing? What's the next wave of technology that's going to enable manufacturing to continue to prosper? And we believe that AI holds that potential. We've done some market research recently that indicates that a lot of companies have been dabbling with AI. It's probably not employed at scale in most manufacturing environments today, but we see a lot of interest in increasing that use. And for instance, we've seen that 76% of the companies that we've surveyed actually believe that they're going to increase the use of disruptive technologies going forward, coming out of the Corona crisis. So AI is at the core of what we do, and we believe AI is going to be a huge enabler for productivity in manufacturing. And so when we look at OPC UA, we believe that OPC UA has a great potential, has a great opportunity for us to accomplish this. First of all, we are very excited about the activities the OPC UA standard has in the area of sensor to cloud connectivity. And in particular, I think Peter is also going to talk about field level communication in more detail later on. But actually, being able to also ingest, high amounts of data in a standardized manner into the cloud, which then will enable us in the second step, actually deploying all that artificial intelligence technology that we use kind of every day in our consumer products today, and make these technological advancements also available for manufacturing environments. And then lastly, with our manufacturing customers, all or mostly running brownfield environments with very heterogeneous suppliers and equipments, we also want to make it really easy for them to expand their footprint and connect new factories, new machines to the cloud and to their operating model. And in that respect, as we look into the future, more standardized models for auto discovery of information models is going to be very interesting for us too. So to get a bit more practical as the last piece of our presentation, as you may be aware, we've been partnering very closely with Renault, who I think are also on this call, on their Industry 4.0 initiative, which is mainly centered around 3 pillars. The first one is their industrial data management. The second one is bringing AI to the shop floor. And the third one is installing a data-driven culture within their organization. And Renault likewise is highly committed to OPC UA. They are, for all the equipments they are buying, they are only buying equipment that is OPC UA compatible. And they're also pushing very hard on making the existing equipment on the shop floor OPC UA compatible. So in our efforts in that space, we've been partnering very close together with Renault to make this happen. And Renault already today is in a situation where they have a lot of machines connected to Google Cloud through the means of OPC UA. And in the future, Renault is looking towards actually creating an international standard to share data models between automakers and their suppliers, making it a lot easier to interoperate, which I think is at the heart of what you guys do at OPC UA. And then also making it a lot easier deploying AI models across their heterogeneous footprint of factories and machines globally. So that much as a quick summary for what we are doing with Google Cloud and why we're excited about joining the OPC Foundation. We are very much looking forward to the further collaboration and working with you, Stefan, and your team in that space. Thank you very much.
Yes. Our next speaker is Erich Bahnstedt from Microsoft. So you see, really, we have the big cloud brands here today. And Erich is talking about the efforts round about OPC UA for Cloud Library. Erich, I'm handing over to you.
One of the major benefits of OPC UA that obviously everybody's familiar with is the data modeling capabilities. So specifically regarding data modeling, we've decided to increase the support for cloud analytics in the OPC Foundation. So typically, a cloud analytics pipeline looks like this. So you have your industrial assets on the left-hand side. Sometimes these are aggregating assets. So an asset is combined with other assets into a single OPC UA server. And then telemetry flows from the asset via an edge gateway to a cloud gateway, usually to a stream analytics component that does processing on the telemetry stream before it ends up in a time series database in the cloud. And then you usually have a dashboard, an online dashboard that queries that time series database, or in fact, you have machine learning running also queries on that time series database, and then calling functions on a dashboard. So the problem is that, telemetry by itself doesn't tell you anything. You really need the data model of the industrial asset also available in the cloud. So far, the OPC UA support for that telemetry pipeline or that analytics cloud pipeline is based on OPC UA Hub Sub. The normal architecture looks like this, where you have industrial assets again on the left, and within the edge gateway there's a OPC UA client accessing those industrial assets via OPC UA client server, then converting it into PubSub and then sending it to the cloud, just like we've seen before. But as you see, basically the support for OPC UA stops when the data hits the cloud time series database, and there's no way to access the OPC UA information model unless you basically create a component like Microsoft has, where we can query the data live from the asset. But a lot of customers are not comfortable with having that access from the cloud back on the shop floor, even if it is secure. They just want data to be sent unidirectionally. So to do that, we've extended the OPC UA support with the UA Cloud Library. So basically the data model database that you need in the cloud is replaced with a OPC UA database of OPC UA information models that are stored in the cloud, and then the full fidelity of the OPC UA information model is available to stream analytics, to machine learning, and to online dashboards. And the UA Cloud Library Working Group is currently defining what that UA Cloud Library should look like, what its interfaces are, and hopefully we will have the first version of this released as a companion specification to OPC UA early next year.
Thank you, Erich. Great update here on the teamwork which you are leading. You made the proposal and you are the chairman of that group. Our next speaker is John Dyke. He's the CEO from Sesame. And before I hand over to John, I just want to give you a short overview that you can really categorize why we are collaborating very closely with Sesame together. Here you see a lot of other initiatives in the world where OPC UA also is playing a key role, and where OPC even is a national standard, like in China, like in Korea. Last week at the OPC Day Asian, I learned that also in Singapore now, OPC UA is a national standard. So Sesame definitely is one of our key partners for North America, and that's why it's a pleasure for me to hand over to John to give us an update on his initiative and what he is doing in more detail.
Well, thanks, Stefan. It's a pleasure to be with you today and with this audience today. Let me start briefly by saying that we have a genuine appreciation for what our partnership with OPC Foundation looks like, and what we're focused on together. There's some significant industry challenges that I think we're perfectly suited to address together with the OPC Foundation, and specifically around OPC UA. But briefly, a little bit about our role here. CESMII is created by the US federal government to invest in smart manufacturing for the purposes of democratizing the capabilities necessary to create a more competitive manufacturing base here in the US. We have been given a significant set of funds to deploy the innovation and the research necessary to address these challenges. And we've done so by identifying the sort of key stakeholders in this ecosystem that are essential for us to move forward in this way. That it obviously includes at the heart of these opportunities, the manufacturers themselves, the systems integrators, the manufacturing software vendors, the machine builders, and of course academia and the US lab infrastructure nationally that is also focused on some of these challenges. So we're here to essentially be the voice of manufacturing for the US to engage in and drive the strategic investments necessary to create smart manufacturing for all industries across all spectrums and sizes. Our core vision is to accelerate the democratization of smart manufacturing, which essentially means that if we can reduce the cost and complexity of smart manufacturing, we'll not only help solve some of the big challenges for the large enterprises, but specifically reduce the barrier of entry for digital transformation, for Industry 4.0, for smart manufacturing, for small and medium manufacturers as well. And that's at the heart of our goal. This idea of democratization is a function of both our technology investments and our advocacy for specific standards and de facto standards. Our focus on the deployment of knowledge, training, education, awareness, workforce development for this ecosystem, and last but not least, enabling OT and IT to collaborate more effectively, bringing the best of both worlds together to really truly drive interoperability in this space. And the reason for our partnership with the OPC Foundation and our engagement with the joint working group, the Cloud Library joint working group that Eric just talked about, is the following. This is one of the best manufacturers, the most mature, sophisticated manufacturers I've seen in my career. This is an actual set of manufacturing systems that they've deployed in about 68 of their plants globally. Each one of these manufacturing IT systems has its own data store, its own set of information models, its own connection to the plant floor, and in many cases, collecting the same data from the same sources on the plant floor. And it has its own user experience for different operators to engage, for the IT group to sustain these applications. And yet at the end of every shift, each plant will spend about 40 person hours extracting data from those systems, for the most part manually, printing Excel spreadsheet reports, exposing that data to Power BI and other analytics to print off these reports for a shift handoff, for production, for maintenance, for production. And this is, like I said, one of the most sophisticated manufacturers, a Fortune 10 manufacturing company here in the US. And so this is why interoperability, these are all stovepiped applications. If there's interaction between these applications, it's manually and custom configured. These are expensive, brittle connections, and very much not sustainable for most manufacturing organizations going forward. So this is the problem. This is one of the many challenges that we think is essential to drive the deployment of smart manufacturing, digital transformation solutions going forward. And this is at the heart of what we've done, that we're hoping to accomplish together with the OPC Foundation and the OPC UA Cloud Library Working Group. We're working together as a committee, as a joint working group, to define information models and standardized structures for information models, bringing those together with what we're calling, and using those as the foundation for what we're calling our smart manufacturing profiles and profile extensions, to create, to abstract the domain expertise and the effort required in virtually every vendor's product today to create that information model, to establish a digital template for that information model. And then if I switch to another vendor, have to do all that work all over again, creating a cloud library, proliferating an opportunity for domain experts all over the world to use the OPC UA based smart manufacturing profiles and creating these data templates, which, by the way, as a core initiative with us in working with the Platform Industry 4.0 group, will be a great extension to the asset administration shell as well, kind of presenting both the as designed and as commissioned aspect of these data templates with the as operated and as maintained structures as well. So Stefan and OPC Foundation broadly, we're honored to work with you. We're honored to be part of this joint working group with you and advancing the cause of these really, really important initiatives like this interoperability joint working group with the OPC Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, for that impressive introduction. It's a pleasure again to work with you together, and because we want to push much more OPCUA in North America, definitely. That's why we also hired Mike Clark begin this year. He started up in May timeframe, and we will hear much more, also good news from North America, I believe, next year. If you like to get more information, we have updated brochures. Peter Lutz mentioned the FLC brochure. There are more information on the YouTube channel and on the podcast what we have, and this will always be extended. So with this, I'd like to thank everybody here joining this press conference, and I ask now every co-speaker here to enable the camera, because we try to go to a couple of questions. Hopefully there are some questions